All right, let's dive into one of the most practical and honestly one of the most powerful chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. We're talking about chapter 3, known as Karma Yoga, or the Yoga of Action. And believe it or not, it all kicks off with a problem that feels like it could have been pulled from right now, today. You know that feeling, right? Stuck between a rock and a hard place, where any choice feels like the wrong one. Well, that is exactly where our story begins. We find the great warrior Arjuna on a battlefield, smack in the middle of a moral crisis that is just so relatable. He is completely and totally confused about what the right thing to do is. So the chapter opens and Arjuna's head is just spinning. He turns to his guide, Krishna, not for a simple pep talk, but for some real clarity. See, he's been told that knowledge is the supreme path, but at the same time, he's being urged to fight in this absolutely terrible war. And for him, it just doesn't add up. And you can almost hear the frustration in his voice here. He's practically begging Krishna, look, stop with the mixed messages. If you're telling me knowledge is better than action, then why are you pushing me into this terrible deed? Just give it to me straight. Tell me one clear path to follow. It's this deep human plea for certainty when you're just drowning in doubt. Now, Krishna's response is a total game changer. Instead of getting into some big debate about knowledge versus action, he starts by completely taking apart the very idea of inaction. His point, for any living thing, doing nothing is, well, it's just not an option. It's impossible. What he's saying here is that we are literally hardwired to act. Our very nature, the energy that makes up the universe, is always moving, always compelling us forward. I mean, just breathing is an action, thinking is an action. So the real question isn't if we're going to act. The real question is how are we going to act, and what's the mindset behind it? And this leads to a really crucial distinction. Krishna lays out two ways to go about this. On the one hand, you've got the hypocrite. This is the person who looks disciplined on the outside, but inside, their mind is just running wild, daydreaming about all the things they've supposedly given up. But then you have the truly excellent individual. This person gets it. They control their senses by first mastering their mind. They realize the real battle isn't what's happening on the outside, it's won or lost on the inside. And that brings us right to the heart of this chapter, Karma Yoga. You can think of it as the art of doing what you have to do, doing your duty, but without getting all tangled up in the results. Not the praise, not the blame, not the success, not the failure. It's about turning your work, whatever it is, into a form of worship. The key concept to unlock this is something called Yajna. The simplest way to think about it is as a selfless offering. Krishna explains that when you do your work as a yajna, when it's for the good of the whole system, not just for your own personal gain, you're actually freed from the consequences, from the bondage of karma. But any action done for purely selfish reasons, well, that just tightens the chains. Then Krishna just zooms out and shows how this fits into this beautiful cosmic cycle. He lays it all out. Our actions, our karma, fuel these selfless offerings, or yajna. Those offerings, in a way, sustain the cosmic order that brings the rain. The rain makes the food grow, and the food sustains all of us. So your personal, everyday duty, it's directly plugged into the well-being of the entire universe. It's that big. And he does not mince words here. He says that if you just take and take from this incredible system, enjoying all the gifts it gives you without offering anything back through your own selfless work, you're basically a thief. It's this powerful call to action, to participate, to give back, and to see our work as part of this grand interconnected design. Okay, so this brings up a really good question when you might be thinking right now. What if you're enlightened? What if you're totally content, self-satisfied, and you have nothing left to gain from the world? Why should you bother working at all? Why not just kick back and enjoy that inner peace? Krishna's answer here is just so profound. He says the wise have to act not for themselves, but for the sake of everyone else. They have a responsibility to set the standard, to lead by example. Because let's face it, people look up to leaders and role models. And if the best among us just check out and stop contributing, the whole fabric of society starts to unravel. And then he uses himself as the ultimate proof. As the divine, Krishna literally has nothing to gain. He owns the whole show. Yet he is constantly, tirelessly engaged in action just to maintain the balance of the universe. He warns that if he were to stop, all the worlds would just fall into ruin. This idea of acting for the welfare of the world, that's the highest motivation there is. But Arjuna isn't quite done. He pivots, and he asks another one of those deeply human questions. He says, okay, I get it. But what is this thing inside of me that makes me mess up? What is this force that compels me to do wrong even when I know better, as if driven by force? And Krishna's diagnosis is immediate and crystal clear. The enemy, he says, isn't out there on the battlefield. The real enemy is inside you. It's Kaama, this insatiable, burning desire or lust. He calls it the great devourer, the great sinner, and he says that is the enemy you must conquer. So what does this enemy actually do? It messes with our judgment. It clouds our wisdom. And to help us really get it, Krishna gives these three incredible analogies. He says, desire covers our wisdom just like smoke covers a fire, or like dust covers a mirror, or like a womb covers an unborn child. In every case, something brilliant and clear is being hidden from view. So where does this enemy hang out? Krishna actually gives us a map of its fortress. It sets up shop in our senses, in our mind, and even in our intellect. And from these command posts, it wages its war, confusing and diluting our true self, our soul.
But here's the best part. Krishna doesn't just point out the enemy and where it lives. He gives Arjuna and us a clear step-by-step battle plan for how to win. This is the how-to guide for achieving that real inner freedom.
First things first, you have to secure the perimeter. The battle, Krishna says, starts with the senses. You have to regulate them from the very beginning, because they're the open gates through which desire storms in and takes over the mind. And then, he lays out the chain of command for our inner world. Think of it like this. Yes, the senses are powerful, but the mind is higher than the senses. And our intellect, our ability to reason and choose, is higher than the mind. But what's higher than all of that? What's at the very top? The self, the soul, your true, unchanging core. And that right there is the ultimate strategy. Know yourself as that pure soul which is beyond even the intellect. When you can stand firm on that high ground, you can then use your intellect to direct your mind, and your mind to control your senses. And from that position of power, you can finally destroy that formidable inner enemy, desire. And that's how this 3,000-year-old wisdom becomes incredibly personal. It turns the focus back on us and asks us to look inside. What's the formidable enemy, that insatiable Kaama, that's clouding your judgment and getting in your way? That's the real battle this ancient guide is preparing us for.